Hello and welcome to Amethyst Star Crafting. My name is Jane Allmark and I'm a UK independent Stampin' Up demonstrator. And today we are looking at a few things. We're looking at the Posted For You bundle, which is on page 81 of the catalogue. And you've got the lovely stamp set and you get the coordinating punch. And if you get them together, you get a 10% saving. So the stamp set and the punch is £29.50, which is a really good bargain because there's so much that we can do with it. So we're also looking at the new water painters, which I absolutely love. I've been playing with them. I have done a video doing a comparison with the old ones that we used to do. So you can have a look back to see on that. But I thought we would have some fun using all of these sorts of things. So the first thing we're going to look at is the punch. Now, the punch is really good for punching. I've got a few bits of scraps and things. So you can punch quite easily. A complete image. Okay, so you can punch it like that. Now, you can also punch smaller ones. Now, to punch the smaller ones, I know a lot of you will know this, but not everybody does. So let's make one which is, let's have it almost sort of square, shall we? So if you punch it, that looks almost about square, doesn't it? So we're just going to punch that out like that, and you'll see that it's got a flat edge. So if we take a post-it note, and you can then make them any size you want. So I should do a couple just to show you. Now what I tend to do is I'll put the post-it note over where I want it to go, so I know the size that I'm working with. And then I will just take it and cut it down so that it is just shy of the size that we want. And then you can just like really roughly cut it through, because you get to use your post-it note more than once. So make sure it's fairly well across like that. Then the easiest way I've found is if you slide it in on the side down to where you want, so we should be able to get it slid in where we want it, line it up through there so it's straight. I hope you can see this. Then what I do is just squeeze it so that it comes where we want, press it, and you then have an almost square one. So you've got two different sizes on there. So let's try one more. So again, this is just a scrap of paper here. So we can take that out this way, and we can do, let's do one lengthways. Okay, so on this one, we're going to make it the whole size, but we want it narrower. So we're just going to cut it or punch it out the first piece. You do need to make sure that you empty your punch. So I'm doing it this way to make sure all the little pieces have got out. So this time we've got this side that we need to punch again. So let's take our post-it note and we can put it down on this side. And again, feed it in so that we're feeding it in through from the side. I might have to do it the other way up. We'll see if we can do it this way. So feed it in through the side where we want it to go. Take it over on the top, slide it through. Down so it just goes through onto the other side. I think that's through. Again, use the punch to, I'm not talking because I'm concentrating, to just squeeze it first press it down, and you then have, now this is where I said you need to be careful with those little pieces that come through. So I always give it a shake, and you can see little pieces where we're cutting tiny pieces out of them. Just make sure that you've collected those pieces and they don't stay in your punch. So if we take that one out, we've now got a long thin one. So you can do any size that you want, which is fantastic. So for the card we're doing today, we have punched out various different sizes. So it's entirely up to you which way you want to do it. I have done 5 or 6, I think. So I've done various different sizes, and we're going to work on those, and then I shall show you the finished card at the end that shows you how it all sort of goes. So we're going to take our water painters, and we're taking the wide brush because we haven't I showed you very briefly, but we haven't had a good old play with it. So that's the brush. Really lovely, really wide. I've been using it a lot in 2 different colours, which is why I've got a little Magenta Madness in there. Now we're going to be using the 2 colours. So we're using Magenta Madness and we're using Misty Moonlight. These are 2 of the new in colours. And we are going to take just take a little block. I always do that, press it down and pull it back to open it. I normally do this off camera, but okay, so we're just going to take a little bit of colour on here like that. And that should be all that we need of this one for the moment. Now, we want to make it fairly wet, so we need to make sure that my brush is tightened, that we add a little bit of water in on there. So if you just squeeze it, you will get some water coming through, and it comes down because they're quite large bristles. It does take a second for it to run down through. There we go. And you want this fairly wet because it's a very bright colour. Okay, so for this is going to be very abstract. So all we're going to do is literally just take it, and we're going to do just some lines across, but you can see how lovely and wide the brush is. So you get this really lovely sort of look. Now I'm not doing it all the way across because I don't want it all the way across. And this one, I think I'm just going to do one like that. Okay, so again, quite randomly. You can always do more and more and more. I've obviously going to have to waste this bit on here because I don't need this anymore. And you need to, the Magenta Madness is, like most reds, is a very highly pigmented colour. So you can see that it takes a while to come off, so I'm still getting colour through. So literally just clean your brush the best you can, but you will get a little bit of colour bleed through. Okay, now we're going to go with I'm taking it off of camera, I should do it here, shouldn't I? Press it in the middle, push it up, and then you get it through. And we're going to take a little bit of colour off of this one as well. And again, you don't need very much. If you're doing a lot, then you can have some more. And again, we want to make it fairly wet. So just make sure we've got some water coming down through. Yes, that's just come through on there. And then I might just have a little bit more because I don't want it to, as I say, you can always go over it again. But for this technique, because we're doing it on cardstock as well, you can use watercolour paper. I'm very much somebody who likes to use what I've got, and I don't always have watercolour paper. Okay, now we're literally just going to go over the top in just a couple of lines. Now it looks a bit messy, But bear with me because it will, this one I want to have down at the bottom, so we're having just one that blends in together. So again, I'm not doing it round the sides, I'm just doing just some random lines on there. And as I say, it looks a bit messy at the moment, but bear with me and you will see how it all sort of comes together. So you can see, being a big brush, you do get quite a lot of colour down on there, so I need to make sure that I'm cleaning it as much as I can, because I say the more we clean them, in fact I'm going to get another piece of kitchen roll, so bear with me a second. Oops, I always keep a wad of kitchen roll here so that I can use it, but we just need to make sure that we have cleaned it as much as we can, and you can still see that there's some colour coming through, but just keep going until it comes as clean as you can get it. And then, as I say, with this one you do need to be careful to make sure that you put it in one side to the other so your bristles don't splay. Right, okay, so that's all we're going to do with that and the water painters. And then we are going to take, let me just take, we need a sponge dauber in the new, there it is, in the Magenta Madness, and we are going to go round the edge of each one of these little pieces that we've done. So you're literally just going to go around the edge, because the Magenta Madness is a really bright colour, and I feel it needs to be toned down with something. So I think that the new Misty Moonlight tones it down beautifully. So we're just building layers and patterns here at the moment. So let's take that round the edge right the way through. Like that. I can put these ones back because I don't need those anymore. So at the moment we've just used, and the whole card, we're just using these two colours. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take out one of my very favourite stamp sets, which is the Very Versailles, and we're going to take the lovely script, which, as you know, I use often. We need quite a big block for this one, so let's put it in on the block. And a way of doing this so that we can do more than one at a time is, in fact, we might get, will we get all three of them in? No, we'll get two. Okay, so you can put them up one against the other. Now we're using the Misty Moonlight on this one, so open the pad again. And we're going to ink it up. And I'm just going to put a piece of copy paper underneath, because otherwise the whole of the work surface is going to look a bit mucky afterwards. Okay, so we'll just put one above the other like this, and then we can take this and put it, sure they're quite together, then we can get as much script on each one, and press that down underneath, and we've now got the lovely script on it, and it now starts looking the way we want it to look. So we're starting to just build up that sort of colour and texture in by building the layers, and you've created your own sort of DSP on the background like that. Now I've got to clean this one off, so let me get my Simply chamois out and I can give that a good clean. I'm very impressed with this Simply chamois. I've had mine for a long time, and you really it cleans everything off beautifully. The stamping scrub is lovely, but just for ease of having it just on your desk where you want it, it's really good. So let's put this one back. So that was from the Very Versailles, which, as I say, just has given that script in the background, which I really love. Let's pop that one back in its place. Turn that, we don't need that on there. So you now have, you can see how by putting the script in there, you've got some lovely different sort of colour tones and everything on top. Now, using the Posted For You, we can use some of the words and things on here. So I used, on the one that I'm going to show you at the end, the Sending Love Your Way. And what I did was I stamped it and then cut round. So let's, I need a long, I've got all my scrappy bits in under here. To grab myself a long block from here. And we'll just put that one in on there. Sending Love Your Way. Take another piece of scrap. This is why I tend to use my scraps all the time for everything, because you can pick them up. And we're going to do it in the Misty Moonlight again. And we're just going to put that straight down on there. So we've got Sending Love Your Way. And give that a quick clean up. And then if we just cut round that so that it is not completely that size, we want to sort of cut it down, and the easiest way to do that is to literally take your snips. Let's move these out of the way because we don't need those now. So just take your snips, and I tend to sort of go around it roughly first of all, so I've got the rough size I want. And then the love is the one that, if we take that one out first, so if you just cut round it, and just turn around the edges. I say they're quite easy little pieces to do. So just get around that one like that. And then we can put one of those in the centre. So I've got the love in on that one. I've got, let's do the sending. So we'll just take that one round on there. I'll do this bit first. All you do is just sort of turn your paper. This is a little fiddly one because it's quite little, and you've got the sort of turning round bits that go for the S and stuff, but you don't have to be overly accurate with it. You can just sort of wiggle it around a bit. And give a little bit of a border if you want to. So we can have that one sending. Put the love on there, actually, sending love. And then we've got the other little tiny one that said your way somewhere. Here it is. So again on this one you can give yourself as big a border or a smaller border as you want, but just sort of cut it round in the way you want. So I'm literally just doing this very roughly. Now you can sponge around the edge of this if you want to, or you can leave it as it is. I think it depends how you feel and how it looks. Sometimes we like to sponge around the edges, and sometimes we go, well, actually it'll be okay without. So sending love your way. Okay, so we've got those little pieces like that, and then we can just add, I've got a few little hearts. Now we've got lots of different things with hearts in. I've just taken a few little hearts, and you can then pop your hearts in where you want them. So I haven't really done enough for this particular one, but I'm just sort of showing you, putting it on there. So we've got blues, we've got pinks. Put a pink one up there, whoops, sliding it about, and I can put another pink down on there. I do a few more. We've got the dog punch that does nice little hearts, which is that one easy for me to get out? It's probably a good few down on my shelf, so let me just have a little look and see if it's right. There might be an almighty crash in a minute, but I'm going to try and get it from, I have all my punches stacked up, and this is about 6 down, so if there is an almighty crash, which it was just about to do, this comes from having things out ready. Okay, that's it. My shelf's not going to go falling down. I keep all my punches on my shelf. So there's a little heart in here, and all you need to do then is to get a little tiny scrap of, and I've got little pieces that I showed you right at the beginning that are just sort of left over from the end. So this is a little bit of a bigger heart, but we can have one like that. That's quite nice because that's quite a big one on there. And then I'm going to do one in the blue, the Misty Moonlight. So we'll take a little heart from there as well. But you can see how, don't throw away your little tail ends and bits, because they can work quite nicely. So we've now got a few little hearts on there like that. And then if you put them onto a card base of white, and then I'll show you the one that I've finished on here. So this is the, let's move those pieces out of the way, because I will make another one with this, and maybe just a little square card would work. So what I've done is I've mounted it on some white card, and then did the matte of the Magenta Madness, and I think it just makes an absolutely lovely background and stamping, and so easy to do. So as I say, this one I'm going to put onto, I think, a square one, because I think those three together would actually look quite nice on a square card. But a very simple idea again, using all the things that we've just got hold of recently. So the Posted For You, we took the sentiment from that. The lovely rectangular postage stamp punch, which, as I say, doesn't just punch that size. You can do any size you want, as you can see from those ones. And we've used 2 colours, which is the Misty Moonlight and the Magenta Madness. So thank you so much for watching me. Do look forward to seeing you again. And as always, stay safe and stay well and be kind. Bye-bye.